Hello, hello. So we're excited that you are on this call. We don't take it lightly. We have a great guest who has decided to share his story from this table where he's been working at an event. That's how much he loves what these products are doing for people. And so we're glad you're on here because you want to hear, because his story is pretty amazing. You know what I don't have, Herman, is I don't have a before and after for you. I do not. I do not. But yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that. In today's call, let me give a couple more minutes. So there's Madeline. Great to see you, Madeline. Cherie, I see you. If you're coming in on this call, go ahead and type in the comments where you're joining in from. Um, we like to kind of know who we're talking to. And yes, we have some stragglers that join in a little late. We do. We're not going to hold up people's time because of that, though. But I'd love to hear where you're joining from. Madeline says, North Carolina. Great to see you again, Madeline. Glad you're here. And I just met Cherie today. I'm so excited she is on the call. I see Brad. I don't know who Brad is. So, yep, Cherie's from Tennessee. Kevin. Oh, okay. Yeah, Kevin reached out to me on Messenger. So glad you were here. Of course, my friend Beverly. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So people are gonna trickle in, but you know what? We're gonna get started because we're not trying to be on here all night, right?
No, we're
Right,
not.
Dr. Esther?
We're not.
Absolutely
Okay.
not. Absolutely not. Okay, so I am Dr. Tiffany Marie, for those of you that do not know me, and I am a double board certified physician in family and lifestyle medicine. And so I practiced for 20 years and I did all the things: the urgent care, the telemedicine, the private practice, and aesthetic practice. I mean, I was even running a practice to where people were getting Botox injections or testosterone pellets because that was hot back then, right? And you know what? People still didn't look healthy. People still looked like they needed something else. And even when I took care of people across 48 states and saw, oh, this isn't just Alabama where I'm physically located. This isn't just California. This just isn't just Texas. This isn't just, DC. This is freaking everywhere. All of us are struggling. And it's not necessarily because we're making bad choices. So I started getting board certified in lifestyle medicine to learn to go after the root causes of conditions, because that's the problem, is we aren't addressing the root. We're just giving band-aids. That's what those prescriptions are. And so once I started focusing on that, I started getting on social media because I want to tell the world. Who doesn't want to tell the world when you find out something great? You're like, I want to tell everybody. I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. And I was shouting it from the rooftops, all right. And I ran across somebody who said, you know what? I have some natural products that'll probably make it easier what you're trying to teach your patients to do. And she was right. She was right. I tried to teach my patients how to add more fiber to their meal, and they were struggling. They were like, I don't even know how much fiber to eat. What do I need to eat? Right. And then having something that made those changes easier made all the difference. I started using it, got off of my blood pressure medicine. I had two of them. I stopped having that perimenopausal acne, thank the Lord. And I stopped having the hot flashes. And I started having results for myself. I started seeing my results in my brother, who was in the ICU, was able to get him to get his sugars down to where he didn't have to do the insulin, the Trulicity, the metformin, all these wonderful things. And I've been shouting from the rooftops ever since. And I got to be able to meet this lovely lady who is another doctor who gets the mission. And she decided, okay, I'll join you on this call. She really didn't have a choice. So so happy Dr. Esther's on this call. Dr. Esther, tell the people who you are.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany. And she is right. She doesn't give you much of a choice when she's asking you to join her in this mission. She is kind of like, we're doing this. What did you want to do it? Like, oh, okay. Well, my name is Dr. Esther Ngare. I'm a board certified family medicine physician and based in Houston, Texas. And just like Dr. Tiffany, I was at that point where you sit on this side of listening to patient problems and you have the excitement, I know how to fix it. And over years, you realize you're not really fixing anything, because every time they come back to you, you're adding medications and more medications, and they're still miserable and nobody's really thriving. And I remember thinking, in the back of my head, like, is this really it? This is what we do? We just write prescriptions and basically just walk the journey towards the end and just adding more medications. And then at some point, we'll just be deciding whether all these medications are necessary or not and which ones are causing side effects. But also, there was this thing of like, you're just not doing everything I tell you to do. So it was like, I've been taught that these things work. So the fact that they're not working, it's your fault.
Mm.
Now, when you're youthful, yeah, because you don't have these problems. And I'm like, this are old people problems. Well, the thing is that with the privilege of getting older, then, you get to that point where you start looking like your patients. And I'm thinking, okay, not only am I getting to the age of where most of my patients are, I am also getting the same things that they're complaining about. And so I told myself, of course, I know what to do. I'm a doctor. I keep telling people what to do. And so I started doing those things. And it didn't take long to start getting frustrated too, that why weren't they working? Why aren't they working? And then I told myself, well, yeah, first it's post-baby issues, and then, okay, now it's perimenopause, and I guess this is it. And I remember part of me thinking, okay, if this is how it starts feeling, and they say menopause is even worse, and I'm thinking, I come from a family where longevity, the women live to, even 100 over 90 and everything. And I'm thinking, if this is happening now, another 50 years of this, and just knowing that I don't know, about this, God, I'm not quite sure about this. And it was in all that I just happened to jump on a call that my good friend, Kemonto, held sometime last year actually on Martin Luther King Day last year, 2025. And Dr. Tiffany was talking, and I remember thinking, how does she know all the things I'm going through? Because it felt like she was talking about me, and in turn also talking about most of my patients. And so I decided to be the guinea pig and just jump on and say, well, they said it's non-medicine, so it's not going to hurt. It's, what's the worst that could happen from taking things that are plant-based? Maybe I'll just turn green with all the chlorophyll. So, but I started taking it and it didn't take long. That first day, the energy, and I still remember wondering where my coffee mug was the first day and realizing I didn't carry coffee that day because I didn't need it and haven't drunk coffee since then. And then in a month's time, I had a patient comment on my skin and saying, what are you doing? What are you using? And in another week, someone else was talking about my weight and blatantly telling me, you've always carried a lot of weight around the middle and it seems to be going. And I'm thinking, okay, that's what my patients thought of me when I was busy telling them, you need to eat healthy and you need to work out and you need to do all these things. And they're thinking, you should take your own advice, doc, but they weren't saying it then. Now they were saying it by saying something is changing. And that's when I thought, okay, they're asking me what I'm doing. And if it's good for me, it should be good for my patients because really, we just want to do no harm. So why would I withhold information about something that I have found and it's working for me? You're seeing the results. And so I just slowly started talking about it to my patients and then started seeing results in them. And now got me even more energized because now it wasn't just me, it was seeing it working in patients and then friends and family. So yes, when Dr. Tiffany came around and said, let's do this, I was like, okay, maybe now I need to take this message beyond just the patient room and beyond the people around me. And I am glad to be here spreading the word because these products really work. And when you know how they work, why they work, then you're even more compelled to get on them and to get people that you love on them. And so that's why we're here, spreading the information about it and making sure people understand, because I believe you need to understand why you're doing whatever you're doing. And so that's why we're here. Okay.
Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, the turning green, that was funny for me. I'm sorry. That was funny. I loved it. So those of you that are new to the call, this is Sister Docs because we're two docs, right?
Yep.
And we're spilling the tea on this stuff that you thought was going to be your problem forever. I know if I could get you guys to raise your hands, you were told your diabetes is going to be there forever. You were told that perimenopausal symptoms were going to be there forever. Your erectile dysfunction, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, that was going to be there forever unless you took some meds. So we're spilling the tea on that and busting it all up because it's not. It does not have to be the truth. And we have a great person that's going to share his story today because one, he didn't have to be on his diabetes medicines forever. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know if you had any diabetes meds, Herman. But Herman's going to share his story. And, I always love when we have a man, Dr. Esther, because for some reason they think Sister Docs, all we talk about is women. Took care of men in practice, didn't you? I mean, lots of my patients were
Yes, I
men.
did. And
Yes.
really, they say women are the custodians of society. We take care of everyone. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearly, clearly. So, Herman, I'm going to move us out the way so you can have front and center sharing your story with us on where you were when you found the products and what they've done for your quality of life and why you're even on this call. So, Herman, you had the floor.
Hey, Dr. Tiffany, Dr. Esther, thank you for inviting me to this call tonight. I wanted to sort of share my story. I was suffering from high cholesterol for like 20 years, high blood pressure for like the last 8 years. And 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I also discovered that I was suffering from a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so, I was working with my doctor to try to combat some of those things. So he prescribed me, I was on three medications, particularly the diabetes he was trying to treat the most aggressively because I had an A1C of 13.1 and a fasting glucose over 500 when I was first discovered. So he started me off on metformin, and when next time I went back for the checkup, wasn't doing so well. So he wanted to try something else. So he had me on Trulicity and some other thing. And ultimately, I wound up on Jardiance. But when it came to the point that he wanted to put me on one of those, he wanted to put me on Monjaro, and I said, "Is that something you have to stick yourself with a needle?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I hate even sticking my finger to test my, glucose in the morning. I'm not going to jab myself in the stomach with a with a needle, so there has to be another way." And so I was following this Dr. Kenny actually on TikTok. I saw him on there, and I was kind of interested in what he was talking about. And again, just like everybody else, some people are. You see people on TikTok, you really don't know them, and so you kind of maybe kind of wondering how is this for real. And then I walked past one of my coworkers' desk one day, Johnny Grandison, and I noticed a Unicity bottle sitting on the desk, and I'm like, "Hey, Johnny, that's the Feel Great system." He said, "Yes." I said, "What do you know about that?" He said, "Well, he's been a distributor for it for a while, and it has helped him in this situation." And so immediately, I didn't have to know much about it because I trust Johnny, and so I said, "Hey, where do I sign up?" And so I signed up for it, and I got my shipment. I started taking it, and I got like immediate start feeling better. Um, and in a period of 4 months, I had reversed all of my symptoms that I had from my A1C was down in the normal range. My blood pressure was 120 over 70.
Wow.
Um, my cholesterol was in range. As a matter of fact, my cholesterol got so low because I was still taking the statin that one time I went to the doctor and my total cholesterol was 98. I couldn't believe the total cholesterol, not the high or the low. The total cholesterol was 98, and so I had to stop taking that immediately because cholesterol is important for your body. And so I was getting a great results for it. And on top of that, I dropped 60 pounds. My waist size was a size 38, and I went down to a size 33, and still at a size 33. I was so excited about the results that I was getting. I began to share it with people that I'm familiar with, and I even became on board as one of the distributor because I saw the results, and I wanted to be a part of this mission and tell people about this great product that had worked for me and has worked for many of people that I've met since I've been with the company. So basically, that's sort of my story. I'm here at a convention in Tennessee. Actually, I have a booth set up. That's the setup behind me. I'm telling the great news about this product and what it can do. I'm tired of seeing people that are struggling with insulin resistance and other conditions that I know that can be reversed. And many times it's frustrating for them because it was frustrating for me. And
Yeah.
hopefully now that I have something that is work, I want to tell the whole world about how they can also correct those conditions that they're plagued with that the pharmaceutical company wants you to remain on forever. And so that's sort of my story. Again, if you're thinking about this product, by all means try it. I love the fact that it comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. The company is so confident that the product works that if you don't get the results you want in 90 days, you get all your money back. I mean, what do you have to lose? As you tell us thing, the only thing you have to lose is your old clothes or whatever. I have to get a new wardrobe because none of my clothes fit anymore. So I'm excited about the product, and I hope you, if you're thinking about it, hope you would sign up for the product as well. And also, we're looking for people to help spread the great news, and hopefully one day you will join us in this mission to get the word out.
Yeah, I didn't realize you lost 60 pounds at all.
Oh yeah, 60 pounds. I mean, like it was amazing. The funny when people see me, they're afraid to ask you. They said, "Herman, are you okay?" They think when you lose that much weight, they think you're sick. I said, "No, I'm losing weight because for a good cause. On purpose, not something because of some disease that I have or some condition that I have." So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. That was more than I knew. Sometimes you got to put people in the hot seat, Dr. Esther, to get everything.
Get everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, Herman. So thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, great share. Well, we appreciate that. Well, I know you guys are on here and you're like, they're talking about these products. Well, let me share about the science behind what these products are helping us do. Okay, that's what I want to do. I want to share the science behind that. And of course, okay. It should be good.
And as we go along, if you have any questions that come up as you're listening to Dr. Tiffany and myself, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. We'll try and answer them. Yep.
Yep. No, that's perfectly good. That's great. So beyond the A1C, that's how I like to frame this talk because when people say insulin resistance, a lot of times that's the first thing they're thinking about. But before the sugar goes up, your body's been trying to tell you something for at least 10 to 15 years. And a lot of us miss that. And we wait until, well, not even that we miss it. Sometimes our doctor doesn't even bring it up. But, when we say insulin resistance, I wonder if my new people on the call, what is your first thought? Is it just the sugar, the diabetes, the insulin shots, the weight gain, maybe? If those are just the things you think of with insulin resistance, we're going to blow your mind. Okay. That's why this is Spill the Tea, because it's much more than that. And so there's a whole hidden timeline that happens. Okay. To where you have a healthy and normal metabolism, and then you have silent insulin resistance. Okay. It's starting to creep up. The symptoms start to happen, the low energy, the cravings, the belly fat that's stubborn, it doesn't want to move. And then as insulin gets high, it starts to damage the inside of those blood vessels. So if you damage the inside of those blood vessels, they're no longer smooth. So your heart has to pump harder. Okay, it also makes your kidneys hold on to sodium. So water follows sodium. Now you have an increased blood volume. So you have increased blood volume and the surface that the blood flows on is no longer smooth. Your heart is pumping like crazy. That's where the high blood pressure comes from. And then it makes your liver actually increase the triglycerides and the LDL and decrease the HDL. That's the protective cholesterol. And then eventually over time, you start to get the sugar in the bloodstream. And so let me even back up a little bit. Insulin is a hormone that is released by your pancreas that allows the glucose that we eat. When we eat food, most of everything we eat gets broken down into glucose. Carbohydrates more than anything, okay? So when we eat, that glucose has to get into the cells to be used for energy. And so your pancreas is releasing insulin to make that happen. It actually opens a pathway. It's like the doorman, so to speak. And so over time, and I'm gonna go into this too, eventually that sugar starts to get high in the bloodstream. At first, the pancreas is just kicking out the insulin, and then eventually it gets high enough to cause type 2 diabetes. But the symptoms that get people even questioning what's going on with me, or the symptoms that even made you all get on this call, or even consider, okay, I want to do something about this. Something's going on. The afternoon fatigue, that 2 p.m. fatigue, that all of a sudden I'm exhausted and you don't know why, right? Or the brain fog. You walk into rooms, you don't know where your keys are. You don't know where those notes you were looking for are. It's like it gets lost in your mind, right? That stubborn belly fat, the mood changes, the coffee. You always having to have coffee or energy drinks. I lived on 5-hour energy for years, and I just thought, I'm just tired, I'm nearing perimenopause. The sugar cravings, the poor sleep, okay, the difficulty losing weight. And so if you could get rid of one symptom, which one would it be? Especially if you had 90 days. If you had 90 days, so say you had multiple symptoms. If you had 90 days, what is the symptom that you really want to get rid of? If you would, type that in the chat. And so I like us actually look beyond the weight. The cravings, the brain fog, the weight's going to come. Herman, he ended up losing 60 pounds, but he was dealing with the sugar, the cholesterol, the blood pressure. The weight's going to come. But what is that issue that you're afraid is going to stop you from being there for your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren or running around? So we want to have our minds set on that issue. If you would, put that in the comments. And so we identify what we're dealing with, okay? And so I like to look at this whisper wheel because I call it whisper wheel. The reality is, the reality is this whisper wheel, these symptoms are whispering. Sometimes they're screaming, okay? Apparently, they're not screaming loud enough. Okay, the sugar cravings, the constant hunger, the belly fat, the skin tags. The skin tags are a good one because so many people don't think skin tags are related to insulin resistance, but insulin can act like a growth hormone. And so it can make those tags on your neck, and it can make those dark patches of skin. That's not just dirt. For a lot of times, it actually is acanthosis nigricans. That is an actual condition from overgrowth of skin. The high blood pressure, the high triglycerides, the joint pain, the inflammation. I kind of don't want to play with this slide, and then even the depression and anxiety. So our gut actually makes 90% of the serotonin, and that's a huge neurotransmitter. That's the main cause of anxiety and depression. So when we deal with the insulin resistance, we allow the gut lining to not be leaky, okay? Because a lot of insulin resistance causes that gut leakiness. And so stuff leaks out that shouldn't. And so you get things like mental health issues, or even irritable bowel or bloating, those types of symptoms. That's why addressing the gut is a huge part of what we do with this protocol. And so, like I was saying in the beginning, so many times we'll go to the doctor, we'll have all those symptoms on the whisper wheel, right? But the labs are normal. Our A1C isn't abnormal yet. Our blood pressure isn't elevated yet. The cholesterol isn't elevated yet, but you feel bad. And so you often feel dismissed, or you're around that perimenopausal age and it becomes, oh, that's just menopause. You're just going to deal with it. I was having a coffee date with somebody earlier, and that's what we were joking about. I have this facial acne. I have this weight gain that came out of nowhere in the last couple of years. Oh, that's just menopause. Deal with it. No, I'm here to tell you, no, we're not doing that. And so how does insulin resistance develop? We talked about the healthy cell. We talked about how insulin is the key that unlocks the door to get glucose into the cells, to get that energy in there. And so eventually, if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, and when I say carbohydrates, I'm not just talking about the sweet people. I'm talking about the crackers, the crackers, the chips. I'm talking about the savory carbohydrates, okay? And so, unfortunately, a lot of health providers were telling our people, I did this too, you need to eat every couple of hours to keep your energy up. And what's the easiest thing to grab? A carbohydrate. So can you imagine feeding your body every 2 hours carbohydrates, and then over time they become processed carbohydrates, so they really break down into glucose. I mean, and they're addictive on top of it. It's a whole nother topic. This is why I help my members with dealing with addiction and everything else, right? And so if you keep doing that over and over and over again, you're flooding your system with carbohydrates. You're making your pancreas have to keep making so much insulin. And then over time, your body starts to get worn out. Your pancreas starts to get worn out with that insulin, right? And your cells, they stop listening. That's where that insulin resistance, the insulin resistance is too much insulin in the bloodstream and your cells not listening. And then the symptoms for insulin resistance, they can happen at any point in time when you're having too much insulin in your bloodstream. So that's why waiting for the sugars is too late. And so menopause and perimenopause, is this related to insulin resistance? Well, when we have our estrogen working properly, it's protecting us from insulin resistance. It makes our cells insulin sensitive. But when you're going through that perimenopausal and menopausal phase, you're actually losing insulin. You're getting this roller coaster ride of insulin until eventually it's not insulin, this roller coaster ride of estrogen until eventually it's gone. And so that actually worsens insulin resistance. And so that's why we see a lot of these symptoms. That's why they sound so similar. And so for a lot of us women, when we've actually started reversing our insulin resistance, decreasing our insulin levels by doing the fasting, making lifestyle changes, adding these products, I stopped having the hot flashes. I stopped having that perimenopausal acne. So many of us, even the fact that it affects polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's the leading cause of infertility, that is linked to insulin resistance. And so we see women being able to get their menstrual cycles back and having children. That is huge, 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 huge. Now, there are times when insulin resistance is normal, and that is during pregnancy, and that is during puberty. Why? Both times you're trying to grow a human, right? You're trying to grow a human in the belly, and you're trying to grow a human yourself. So yeah, at that time, that's normal. But if that persists, okay, that's when we're having a problem. That's when we need to start addressing things. And so, unfortunately, just waiting on the A1C, which is what most doctors, like Dr. Esther and I, have been taught, is that we wait for that. That is not the whole picture, because what we call a normal A1C, which is 5.0 to 5.7, that's called normal. Well, there's an increased cardiovascular risk, heart disease, stroke risk, even in that normal A1C period. And so at 5.7 to 6.4, now we're diagnosing that as prediabetes. And so, yes, the risk is worse. And then after 5.7, then after 6.4, really 6.5 and above, that's called type 2 diabetes. And yes, the risk is even more. But if we just waited for prediabetes to be elevated, we're missing so many people struggling, which is why, unfortunately, we have people that die of heart attacks and we say they didn't have any problems. They die of strokes. I don't know where they came from. They didn't have any diabetes, no blood pressure, nothing. Yeah, because they were in this normal, so-called normal range. That's why we're trying to catch people beforehand. The reality is insulin resistance is reversible. So all that you were taught, saying that you would have to be on this stuff forever, you have to be on these meds forever, you have to deal with your diabetes forever. No, absolutely not. We have people that keep giving us stories of reversing their neuropathy, of reversing their joint pain, of reversing their eye symptoms, vision. We have people with their vision is getting better. So it clearly is not something that you have to struggle with forever. You just need the right tools. So your nutrition, that matters. Cutting out the processed foods is huge. The products we like to use helps you do that. Not snacking on the carbohydrates as often and utilizing intermittent fasting, yes, huge. The products help you do that too. Getting your sleep, managing your stress. Your stress is huge. Okay, I was talking to somebody earlier. When cortisol is released with stress, that releases glucose. The problem is that's a normal physiological response. It's supposed to happen. We need that. Say we see a bear when we're out in the woods. Well, we need the stress to start running. The problem is we're getting our stress sitting at a desk. We're getting our stress sitting in our bedroom, sitting at home, mad at somebody here or mad at somebody there or mad at a situation or struggling with a situation. And our body is acting like we're running from a bear, but we're not running anywhere. So that kicks up the glucose. And now you have all this sugar that your body's figuring out, what am I going to do with it? It stores it. So that's why we have so many people that are like, I'm stressed and I can't lose weight. Yeah, and then you're stressing about losing weight. It just messes up. It messes everything up. It's an awful cycle. Avoiding harmful substances is huge. Resistance training is huge. We need our muscle. It acts like a sponge bringing in the glucose. Now, if changing your lifestyle was easy, everyone would already be healthy. Because at this point, I have smart, educated people on this call. We know the things we need to avoid. If it was just about doing what we know, meaning it was all easy and all in your power to do, we would be doing it. Sometimes we need a little bit more direction. Sometimes we've been told the wrong thing. So sometimes we need to be not miss, what is that? We have to unlearn some of the things we've been taught in order to be empowered to do this on our own. Okay, so life happens, caregiving happens, okay, stress happens, work happens, hormones change. sometimes we need some support to where it's not entirely your fault. Now, you do have to do something there. Don't let me act like this is magical. Though we have some people who just use the products and don't make any lifestyle changes, have some great results. My goal is for you to do the lifestyle changes and add these tools to make those changes easier and sustainable. And so sometimes the right tools help level the playing field. I like to say the lifestyle changes that we know we need to do, the resistance training, the avoiding the extra carbohydrates, the processed foods, the managing our stress, we know we need to do that, right? But fighting them by yourself can feel hard. It's almost like doing a fist fight. You both are white knuckling it out, right? But I'll tell you who wins that fist fight is the person who picks up a knife or picks up a brick and levels out the playing field. They tear it down, right? So having a tool makes that so much easier. And that's what these tools are helping why people do. So we have real results, more energy, better sleep, lower blood pressure. You heard Herman's story. And then I actually have some more pictures of people who were able to take back control of their health and say, look, I'm gonna do this. And there's no age limit. There's really no age limit on deciding you want to actually have better control of your health. It isn't. We have a teenager here. And so they were dealing with this awful back knee, and they didn't want to take all the crazy medicines because some of those medicines can be, I mean, not great. And so Accutane, especially if you're a girl, you got to take birth control while you're on them. And so this person didn't want to take any medications. And after 6 months, he was able to see his skin improve. Okay. And then another doctor, because we're not the only two doctors who figured this out and realized this is just an awesome tool that's helping so many people, he started using this himself. And so from 1 to 2, that's him at his fist fight. That's him doing the lifestyle changes. He's running, he's doing intermittent fasting, and yes, looks better, right? But there is something different between 2 and 3. And his cholesterol came down almost 100 points. That was him adding the protocol to his lifestyle. My friend Sheridan, somebody who didn't necessarily need to lose weight, but she was having bad gut issues and was on antidepressants. And so she would sometimes have to leave the table because her gut was hurting so bad. And her family knew this. So one day her son was like, Mommy, you aren't getting up from the table now. She had been on the products and she'd been able to get off her 4 of her antidepressants, lose 14, 15 pounds, but even her hair grew back and no longer struggling with her gut. And the accountability factor is huge. If we discount that, we're missing it. That's why I like to have my people together so I can, one, hold them accountable. They have a safe space. When you do this with someone else, so if you know somebody that you want to do these lifestyle changes with, this is the time to invite them to one of these calls, to tell them about what's going on so you have a partner with you. So Jackie and her husband did this together. Jackie lost 124 pounds in 14 months. Now, we're not saying crazy magical weight loss. We're talking about healthy weight loss, okay? And no longer pre-diabetic. See, that's what I love right there. Reversing the cardiovascular risk. Her husband lost 110 pounds off all of his medications because he was a diabetic with an A1C of 7.7. That's not nearly as bad as Herman's that you heard Herman tell us about, right? But he was able to get his A1C down to 5.0. That's no longer called a diabetic. And that's me. One, another doctor, putting myself on the bottom of the list. I was dealing with the high blood pressure, the stress. Of course, I was kicking my butt. Well, I thought it was kicking my butt. And even on I was on 2 high blood pressure medicines and an antidepressant. Yeah, I was. And even after doing a vegan lifestyle for 6 months, making my own cheese, people, I couldn't even touch my blood pressure. It wasn't until I picked up the products and my blood pressure got better. My waistline started looking more like what I wanted to look. You know, I was having me a good time. Vicky, a type 1 diabetic, this is someone that does not make make insulin. So their pancreas doesn't make it. And so they have to take insulin from outside. Exogenous insulin is what we call it. She was able to lose 37 pounds, able to decrease her insulin intake by 80%. This is unheard of with a type 1 diabetic. Able to get her A1C down to 5.9. Usually their A1Cs are way out of control because all they can really take is insulin. They can't take the oral medications. And over time, their bodies become insulin resistant. But she was also able to help her thyroid. I mean, she was also able to, do you see this list? I mean, cholesterol coming down. It's amazing. And my friend Beverly, who's on the call. And so I talked about skin tags because she wanted to be like, no, I'm the healthiest girl you know. I'm the healthiest person in your friend group. Trust me, I'm good. I mean, literally, she jumps up and does 100 jumper jacks every morning. She does. And so she was like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this with the skin tags when I was at a talk. And so she took a picture because, like I said, the skin tags, when insulin acts like a growth hormone, they can make skin tags. And so 6 weeks later, she was like, oh, my skin tags are looking smaller. In fact, my mom was like, by the way, don't my skin tags look smaller? They do. I see this happening. I get results from people saying this is happening. It is wonderful. Crystal, one of my nurse friends who was dealing with a leaky gut problem and Hashimoto's, that's when your body attacks your thyroid gland. That actually has gotten better. So much so, she was on 15 meds. Now she's on just two. Just two. She was able to get off of 13 medications. So as a doctor, that's the stuff that inspires me. For 20 years, I was adding meds to the list, to the list, to the list. Now I get to see people remove them. Who doesn't want to see that? Right, Dr. Esther? I just love it. And so I don't know if you all have had any time to put any questions in there. So Dr. Esther and I can actually start talking about them. And so if you haven't put any questions in there, that's okay too. For my people that are on the call that actually have something that they want to share about what the products have done for them, their lifestyle changes, please share that at this time. Put that in the comments so that other people can see it too, because that always amazes me. And it's something, lots of people end up leaving stuff out of their stories. I mean, like Herman. All I thought he ever reversed was his diabetes. I had no idea. No idea. So now's the time to add some things. I know we have Johnny on the call who actually was able to improve his Crohn's. Gloria said brain fog is lifting. Love it. Starting to sleep 5 to 6 hours. It's amazing how you appreciate sleep when you didn't have it before, right? Okay, and I'm glad you guys put those things in here. Cherie says she's dealing with fatigue. I love you guys actually listen to what I said in the presentation. Love that, love that, love that. Okay, Dr. Esther, I think I talked a little too much today. Today was my talk too much time. So Dr. Esther's going to show us the products and how they actually work. So I apologize, Dr. Esther. It's gonna make you have to do speed. That's gonna have you speed it up.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's see.
I got excited.
Hey, talking about this stuff is exciting. Okay, so what products are we keeping on talking about? You're probably wondering. Okay, products, what are they? So the product, it's a protocol. It's called the Feel Great Protocol. It's two products combined with science of time-based eating or intermittent fasting, whatever you want to call it. But we'll explain exactly how that works. It's not a diet. It's not a program. It's not one of those things that you're going to do for 30 days or 90 days and then go back to your usual. No, this is something that is going to change your body in a way that is sustainable. And you continue it because, again, when you understand the things that our bodies are missing and what we are up against, lifestyle issues, and the fact that we're not really in control of our food supply currently. And I don't think we'll ever be again, it keeps just getting worse. So, the food that we're eating, is it really doing everything we need to do? Yet we know, as Dr. Tiffany said, we need fiber. It is such an important part of our diet. And yet, as we go on, it's getting removed more and more from our food. So you find that this is something that when you understand how it works, you will see the need for it, for you to continue being on it, for it to continue giving you the results that you need. So nutraceuticals are the two products. What are nutraceuticals? They are plant-based products that have plant-based food that has more clinical benefit than its nutritional benefit. And that's what these two things are. The first one is called Unimate, which is basically an ultra-concentrated yerba mate tea extract. It is not the usual kind of yerba mate that you find, get the dry leaves, steep them in water and drink. No, this is an ultra-concentrated yerba mate. It has gone through a processing where they take them, they fire roast the leaves, they purify them, and then, of course, extract the active ingredients and super concentrate them and make them into the packs that, it is supplied in. The most important thing here is the chlorogenic acid. That's the active ingredient. What does the chlorogenic acid do? It helps break down fat. It reduces fat accumulation. It improves mitochondrial function. And I'm laughing because I saw somewhere today someone asking, what is all that stuff we learned in school about mitochondria? How does it help? Well, you know that that's the energy factory in your body. And what's the one symptom that you've seen people put there when you said, what is the one thing you'd love to improve? Fatigue, which is the opposite of energy. So when you're having insulin resistance and poor gut health, fatigue is one of the things that comes in, because what you're doing is that your cells and that mitochondria is not effectively producing the energy that it should. And so this chlorogenic acid is the part of the unimatte that helps with that. It also helps you lower your LDL. It reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what you get, what happens to the cells when they're laden with sugar, what happens to your proteins when they're laden with sugar. It improves insulin sensitivity and, of course, supports gut health by preventing leaking. The other things that it has theobromine. It has natural caffeine, so this is not added caffeine. When you have caffeine, of course, it boosts energy and mental alertness, but many times when people take caffeine, they get kind of like a jittery kind of energy. Now, this doesn't do that because it has theobromine, which helps counter that. And so you have this calm energy and you don't get any energy crashes. It also has the polyphenols, which are powerful antioxidants. We are all looking for antioxidants. People's medicine cabinets are full of stuff that's written antioxidants. You're not quite sure whether that does that. This we know it does exactly what it says it will do. It comes in this little sachet here. And as I've talked about what it does is that in real life, what it will do is that it will help give you endurance and stamina. So if you're working out, it's going to help you with that. It will help promote ketone production. That's how it helps with part of, that brain alertness. It will support your weight management efforts, because if you're not accumulating fat and you're burning the already accumulated fat, then that's going to support your weight loss. Herman lost 60 pounds. Then it also helps just that feeling of well-being when you have your energy boosted, but not in a kind of jittery way, then you're feeling good. And I guess that's where the name Feel Great comes in. And when you look at the studies that have been done on it, that boost in energy production, compare the control and the unimatte. Then the other product is Balance. Balance is fiber. It's a blend of different fibers. All of them are both soluble and insoluble fibers. Now, if you see here, whenever we talk of fiber, most people will think of psyllium husk, because that's what you find in things like Metamucil and then a fiber. And it's because we've maybe been misled to think that fiber is all about having good foods. No, there's much more to fiber than just how you go to the bathroom. And when you realize that, then you know that you need to ask more. You need to ask for more out of your fiber, not just helping you go to the bathroom. What else is it doing as it goes through you? We don't absorb or store fiber. It literally just goes in one end and comes out through the other, but it does an amazing lot of good as it goes through that. So you can see the fibers here are different. It also has not just fiber, but there are multivitamins added to it, which of course makes it, it's a perfect delivery mechanism of adding these multivitamins. What does this fiber do? And you'll see it is fiber, so it keeps us fuller. So it helps reduce appetite in between meals. It also aids in reducing the amount of dietary cholesterol and blood sugar that's absorbed, because what happens with this balance, the proprietary aspect of it is that when you take it, it goes and forms this gel in your belly. This gel coats the inside of your gut and the whole canal. And that means all the food that you eat after that gets coated in that gel. And when that happens, as it's getting digested, then you're not absorbing as much sugar as quickly as you would if this food was naked. So when we say don't eat naked carbohydrates, clothe them in fiber, it's literally, this is what we're talking about. Let that gel surround the food that you're eating, and therefore you're not absorbing that sugar at a high rate. So that makes you prevent that glucose spike, which is where most of the problems begin, because a glucose spike is followed by an insulin spike. It also helps support, healthy blood glucose levels, because again, you're not having those spikes. Of course, it will help you with weight management, because if you're not producing as much insulin, your insulin stays low, so the fat's gotta go. And it helps you with that time-based eating, because if you're feeling fuller, you're not going to want to reach for food as you usually do. When we eat refined carbohydrates that are naked, every 2 hours you want to keep eating. But when you take it with the fiber, then you don't feel hungry, and you can actually go for the recommended 5 to 6 hours in between your meals to allow for the insulin that went up with your first meal to come down before you eat the other one. This product has been studied by the University of Sydney, which is the home of the glycemic index, and they have found that it actually reduces how high and how fast that glucose goes up by up to 40%. So you can imagine if two different people eat exactly the same meal in the same order, but one took this balanced fiber and the other one did not, one will get higher glucose and therefore more insulin being recruited to come to work, while the other one is not going to get that glucose spike, and therefore they'll not have as much insulin. The end result is that the one without the fiber will store more of that glucose in form of fat, while the other one will not store as much because they didn't get too much insulin. It's also been studied by Cleveland Clinic, and they have found that if taken consistently, it could actually reduce the cardiovascular risk on a population level, and actually reduce the need or dose of lipid lowering medications. Now, we all know statins. Whenever they tell you about cholesterol, it's always followed by a discussion of you need to be on a statin, and then they pick one, but then quickly after picking one, then it's a list of all the side effects that will happen and all the testing we need to do to make sure it's not damaging your liver. And so this is what sometimes I wonder. We talk about you have fatty liver, your liver enzymes are high. So here is a pill that's going to make those liver enzymes go higher up. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? So when you come back and those liver enzymes are high, what caused them to go higher? Was it because now I gave you this pill that I know will do that? Or was it because your fatty liver got worse? Or are we dealing with something else? So, I mean, that's why you say sometimes some of the things we do that we've been taught to do, if you just take a pause and just think critically, and you'll wonder, what am I doing here? What exactly am I contributing to? So you have an option of something that does not require you to worry about side effects. And it's not just lowering cholesterol. This is a broad spectrum solution to a lot of things, that it will help feed your gut microbiome. And therefore, a lot of those conditions, IBS, constipation, Crohn's disease, all those diseases that have to do with poor gut microbiome, reflux. Many people are taking omeprazole, which we know causes long-term problems, and yet it's all an issue of the gut microbiome. We hear of H. pylori. H. pylori is just an overgrowth of one of the bacteria. Why does it become a problem? Because there's that gut imbalance. We've had studies where someone checked and realized that by improving their gut microbiome without doing anything else, the H. pylori was no longer detectable. So this tells you that there's a lot of things that we are doing that are just band-aids and reactionary instead of looking at where the problem actually is coming from. And one thing I forgot to mention, and I'll go back here, is that the GLP-1 effect, another medication that we keep hearing about. There are more GLP-1s coming up, whether it's oral GLP-1 medications, they're not just shots, maybe for the people like Herman who are terrified of shots. Now they may tell you this is a pill, but you don't need that anymore. You produce GLP-1 hormone in your intestines. Whatever you're getting coming out of a carton, out of a box, is just cloned GLP-1. You can boost your own GLP-1 by taking the Unimate, it actually boosts it by up to 67 to 70%. Now, this is your own GLP-1. It doesn't come with the side effects. And one of the things we learn is that what the GLP-1 hormone does in the body, it's not supposed to last for a week, like what happens when you take the shots. When GLP-1 is produced in the body, it doesn't have a long half-life because its work is to come in and activate other hormones which last longer. So you're not supposed to have your GLP-1 hormone lasting in your body for a week. It's only supposed to last literally minutes, like 40 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes, but its work is activate other hormones and then, be metabolized. So this is what you're doing, and therefore you don't get the side effects. Sorry, I forgot to mention that, and that's very key. So how do we take this product? We talked about time-based eating. When you take the Unimate, because of that GLP-1 effect, it makes you not feel hungry. So if you're not feeling hungry, you'll be able to extend your overnight fast. And you will delay your breaking fast meal. Remember, breakfast, nobody said it has to be in the morning. You can delay that meal by a few hours and extend that overnight fast. If you've never fasted, if you've never done anything more than eating at a certain time and waking up and eating something, just try and start at 12 hours. And then start extending that, because the ideal is usually 16 hours. But just start taking it slowly. So you take this tea, you sip on it at whatever temperature you feel comfortable with, and it helps you extend that fast as it does all those other good things that we talked about. And then you eat your fast meal, which of course should have protein, it should have fiber. And if you wanted to have some carbohydrates, it can, but remember the order of the food that you eat is important. Start with your fiber, followed by your protein, and then finish with the carbs if you're still hungry. Then you take another tea in the afternoon so that it helps you with that afternoon slump that initially you're still dealing with. It helps you with that. And then before your dinner, and we talk about dinner because for most people, that's a meal they eat together with the family. So it tends to be heavier for more people. So you take your balance. Balance needs to be taken very fast because remember I talked about it turning into a gel. Well, it needs to be jelly in your belly, not jelly in the cup or in the bottle. So you want to shake it and quickly drink it. And therefore, it needs to be taken with water that is at a temperature that you can quickly chug down. So whether that is room temperature or just slightly lukewarm, you decide whichever works for you. So sip on the Unimate when you're not eating, chug on the fiber before the largest meal of the day or the most carbohydrate heavy meal. There are people who will do, and the company offers both options. Either you're doing 2 Unimates and 1 balance, or you can do just 1 Unimate and then take 2 balances. If you tend to eat 2 heavy meals a day, then you do 1 before your first meal and another one before your second meal. And now if you've taken a balance before your first meal, just drink water in between the first and the second meal, because chances are you're still so full, you don't want to eat. So both options are there. These products, of course, have now over 25 clinical studies, HSA, FSA qualified. As I talked about, they're nutraceuticals, no pharmaceuticals in this. They are in the physician desk reference. So if you're wondering, okay, can I take this? First, it's food. If you can eat food, you can take this. But your doctor can take a look and see. It's called Unicity Unimate and Unicity Balance. You can take a look and see that they really don't have any interactions with any of your medications. Currently, in about 65 countries, patented and guaranteed. When you get them, you do get an app, a tracking app that gives you a lot of information and resources. And then you can also track just how you're using it. So you can see, am I really getting am I taking it every day, or am I forgetting? Am I fasting as I should? And when we talk about guarantee, is that if these products don't give you any improvement with consistent use, in 90 days, the company will give you back your money, no questions asked. That's the guarantee. When you think about the pricing, it's about $5.30 here in the US. Just think about that. $5.30 for a whole day's supply and all those good things that it does. And if you just skip one meal, most people's Starbucks drink costs about $7. So just right there, you've already saved on that. When you ask people, okay, so how about that breakfast that you eat? If it's a Starbucks drink and something else and a sandwich or whatever, we're talking about $12. Yet for just over $5 a day, you can solve a lot of the medical problems that you have. The factories where these products are manufactured, they have third-party certifications. They're FDA uh, FDA approved facilities. These are nutraceuticals, so the FDA does not deal with approving the nutraceuticals, but they do approve the facilities. They are sourced, the ingredients are sourced directly from the farmers. There is no, middleman, brokers, and all that stuff. And we have dedicated in-house scientists and specialists who test and retest these products before they hit the box that comes to you. And of course, as Dr. Tiffany said, they are helping many, many people. You'll see the people who've been talking about just using them even just for a few weeks and the results that they're getting. Herman talked about all the results that he's got. And my question to you is, what are you waiting for? And when will you change the story? Because I say you can there's a reason why you're on this call. Something made you want to come and see, what are they talking about? What is this thing that could help? Take that leap of faith and say, what if it helped? What if it actually helped? Where will I be in 90 days? Because if you don't do anything, then you're still going to be, no, you're not going to be where you are, because in another 90 days of having more sugar circulating in your system, things are only going to get worse. So make a choice today. Either stop the trajectory that your health is going, or decide that you're okay with things being worse. It's really just as simple as that.
Yes, that was great, Dr. Esther. And perfect. Perfect. You slid right into that space I left you so well. Great, great, great. Well, I didn't see any real questions in the chat. And I tried to address the few we did have. And I think you did such a great job of giving us a call to action. And I don't want to belabor the point. Dr. Esther just laid it down and threw the mic down. Now we have some people that are new and that they're trying to see, what is this stuff we're talking about? So I hope this inspires you for what's coming and the products that you're getting on your doorstep. You're not just getting a little box. You're getting something that can actually change your quality of life. And I am so excited that you're here. We do this every Wednesday, unless we have a company call that throws us off. And we have other calls too. And so this is a place where you can bring your accountability partner. You can bring those family members that you know are struggling and just get them to listen. Get them to listen to see if they find themselves in those symptoms we talk about. That's what Dr. Esther said when she heard me talk. She said, why is she talking to me? That's what I know some of you hear when you hear people talk, is they're talking directly, they're speaking to me. They're talking about my business. I met somebody today and I rambled off the symptoms. He was like, I feel like you're trying to call me out. You're trying to call me out. Because we are. We really are. We're trying to call you out of darkness because we're seeing too many people moving to the light and getting their health back. So that's what this spilling the tea is all about. Thank you so much, Dr. Esther, for doing this with me every week. I'm so excited that you guys are on this call because you made a first step to changing your life forever, or at least helping somebody else do the same. So thank you, Herman. Your story was powerful. So thankful that you shared it at your time. We appreciate all of you. This recording will be available for anybody who wants to have it, but I want to see you next week. And bring a friend.
Yes, and we forgot to mention, if you're new and you're wondering how to get the products, the person who invited you, wherever you got this invite, that person will share a link with you where you will get a discount and lock it in for life. And you will also get a link after you purchase where you can keep sharing it with family. So, let's just keep on passing not just the good news, but even those discount links.
Yes, yes, perfect. You all have a wonderful night.
Good night.